Hi guys, it's been a heck of a week. This week, I've talked to several guys that are starting docetaxel just because they have a couple bone metastases, and the doctor is giving them docetaxel, darolutamide, or Lupron in combination with Firmagon and Aligard, of course, which is the same thing. But they're giving them the docetaxel before waiting to give it to you at the end, like they've been in the past. The theory being there's a study out that it increases your life 20 months if it metastasizes further at the end stage. So on the gamble that you might live 20 months longer, they're giving you the chemo ahead of time. Of course, it makes them $65,000. That may have something to do with it. Anyway, keep taking PC Spec. I've got a little collage of what I have received this week from the people I talk to and some of the media that I look up. It'll definitely entertain you. Anyway, stay strong and...
Are you sure you want to get a biopsy for that tumor or nodule? Think of it like a balloon. And think about the toxicity that maybe is in that balloon. So your white coat medical monopoly doctor goes in and he pops that balloon and the stuff goes everywhere instead of just shrinking it naturally.
Most men who had radiation for prostate cancer never think to ask what happens if it comes back. Then it comes back and nobody has a good answer. The gap between finishing radiation and knowing your full set of options is where a lot of men get lost. They did the treatment, they monitored the PSA, and when the numbers started moving, they walked into an appointment expecting a clear next step and got a conversation that felt like a dead end. Surgery after radiation is complicated. Hormone therapy is a long road with real side effects. What most of these men were never told is that a targeted, minimally invasive treatment exists for exactly their situation. The reason they never heard of it is simply that not many doctors offer it. The questions worth asking is not just what are my options, it is, am I talking to someone who knows all of it?
This is the exact moment a normal cell becomes cancerous, and it happens 10,000 times a day in your body. Every cell in your body contains DNA with instructions for growth, division, and death. A mutation occurs in a gene that controls cell division, like the p53 gene, which normally acts as a brake pedal telling damaged cells to stop growing. With that brake gone, the cell doesn't get the stop signal anymore. It divides when it shouldn't, creating two identical copies, both carrying the same mutation. Your immune system's T cells patrol constantly, scanning for these abnormal cells and destroying most of them before they become problems. But occasionally, a mutated cell evades detection by displaying proteins that say, "I'm normal, don't attack me." This rogue cell continues dividing, and each generation accumulates more mutations. After about 6 to 10 critical mutations, this cell becomes fully cancerous. It starts releasing chemicals called growth factors that stimulate nearby blood vessels to grow toward it, feeding the growing tumor. The tumor doubles in size every 100 days on average, invisible for years until it reaches detectable size. By the time a tumor is 1 centimeter wide, it contains about 1 billion cells. The terrifying part? This process starts from a single mistake in a single cell, and your body creates and destroys potential cancer cells constantly.
Been duped and you're programmed and you don't know it. You're asking questions of things that are benign in nature, like natural organic grown products and herbs that have worked for thousands of years. And you're blindly trusting an industry that has been convicted of felonious charges repeatedly. Just to give an example, a simple Google search will tell you that pharmaceutical companies have paid over $62.3 billion in federal and state penalties, including criminal fines and civil settlements for illegal activities between 1991 and 2021. These penalties, often stemming from fraudulent marketing and safety violations, totaled over $91 billion since 2010. Major settlements include $3 billion from GSK and $2.3 billion from the other company with a PF. That's the facts. So I hope you become a research scientist when your primary care doctor prescribes that statin, or when he prescribes that pain pill, or that anti-inflammatory, or that muscle relaxer, And maybe you can also research why vegetables might be so harmful to you, since that seems to be a very big cite your source movement in the internet community, at least.
Yes, so they told you got cancer and you got 6 months to live. Well, let's talk about it. Did you know there's stories of a lot of people out there who've gone to the doctors, got told they were going to die in a short amount of time, and then died in a short amount of time. But then, while their family members were going through their old belongings, they found scans from 5, 10, 20 years prior, where the scans showed they had cancer back then, but they didn't know. But it's funny that they died the minute the doctor told them they're gonna die. It's like the body kept them alive. It's like the cancer wasn't causing a problem until the doctors came in with their chemo and with their diagnosis. Maybe the brain kept it suppressed. Your brain is capable of a lot more than you think. The minute you believe you're gonna die, because you've been told you're gonna die, your cells in your body get weak, your mitochondria gets weak, you die.
I just wanted to tell you about this patient of mine who had pancreatic cancer. So I saw him with a new diagnosis of pancreas cancer, and he was pretty weak from the start. When I met him that first day, I started telling him about treatment options, the different drugs, the different side effects, and about halfway through my regular spiel, he interrupted me and he said, "Doc, I really don't want to do it." And I said, "Do what?" And he said, "I really don't want to do chemotherapy. And the reason I don't want to do it is because I know I'm not going to get a lot of benefit from it. It's not going to help me live that much longer. I know I'm going to get sicker from it. And most importantly, I know I have not great insurance. And so when I die, my family's going to get stuck with a lot of that bill." And as I thought about it, I realized he absolutely made that right decision. Chemotherapy is not for everybody. And I think what's most important is making sure that we as oncologists listen to the patient, understand their goals, and that's not always giving somebody chemotherapy.
All right, so in the cancer world, there's this term that people use a lot. It's called scanxiety. And if you've been through this long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that anxiety that kind of creeps in your brain when you're waiting for a scan or you're waiting for the results after a scan. Sometimes it shows up when you're like starting treatments and you need to find out if things are working. And sometimes it shows up later if you've been in remission and you're afraid of what your follow-up scans are going to say. It's just this fear that overcomes you. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this because the reaction from people that I see all the time to the scans is almost always the same. And that is, you're treating the scan like it's the one thing that's going to decide your fate. But the scan isn't really actually doing anything to you. That scan is just information. All right, I want you to think of this a little bit different way. If you have a scan coming up, that scan is just information, because the thing that's happening inside your body, that's already happening. The scan is simply just a tool that shows you what's happening. It's that tool that tells you where you're at, what you've got to do so that you and your doctors can decide what to do next, if anything. You either continue your treatment, or you change your treatment, or you keep living your life without treatment. That's it. It is literally a diagnostic tool. And in Stoic philosophy, which I like to practice, there's a really clear way of looking at things like this. See, Epictetus, way back when, said people are not disturbed by things, but by their judgment they make of things. The scan is just a test. It's neutral. It has no emotion that comes with it. It is a machine collecting data. And the fear around all of that usually comes down to the simple idea of it's the fear of the unknown. But the funny thing is, the only way to remove the unknown is to get the information. So people get stuck in this really weird, strange mental loop of anxiety where you're worried about the test, but then the test gives you the information. Then you're worried about the information, but the information tells you what to do next. And the whole time you're worrying about something that you can't even change in the moment anyways. What the scan is going to say, it's already going to say. There's nothing you can do between now and that appointment for your scan that changes anything that's happening inside your body right now. Like, what's happening is happening. You need that information in order to figure out what that is. Seneca, back in Stoic philosophy, had a line. He said that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, because we are imagining an outcome of how that scan is going to be before we even get it, because we're trying to put our own imagination into the information that we need the scan for. And another way of thinking about that idea is another version of this in the suffering terms is a man suffers, he who suffers before it is necessary will suffer more than is necessary. And that's what scanxiety is. It is suffering more than is necessary, because your suffering leading up to that test, if those results are bad, then you're going to suffer again dealing with the reality of what the test said. But on the other hand, if those results are good, then you just spent all that time suffering for no reason. So the way that I've learned to look at these scans and tests is pretty simple. The scan is not your enemy. The scan is just information. It doesn't come with any emotion unless you give it. It doesn't come with any outcome until you actually have it done. Okay? It is a tool that removes the unknown and tells you what the next move is for you and your doctor and your cancer fight. Once you start seeing it that way, that fear starts to lose all of its power, because you realize that scan isn't actually deciding your fate. The information you get will decide what to do then. It's just showing you the battlefield that you're on, and from there, you get to figure out what to do next. So, think of it that way. And then I want you to remember that you're stronger, you're more resilient, and you can handle way more than you think you can. All right? Keep fucking going. We'll see you.
You want to know what the biggest mistake most people make? Most people think they got time. Biggest mistake. What I've seen in my life. Everybody thinks they got time, and what people fail to realize is that the clock is ticking. The hourglass has been turned over, and the sand is just coming out. You never know when your time's up. It's my buddy Vance right here. Met this guy at Costco. We became friends. The last conversation I had with him was regarding work. He was gonna, he picked up a couple of new clients. He was gonna work a little more, have a little less time at home, but he had plans for the future. That was on a Thursday night. He died Saturday from an aneurysm. 45 years old. Thought he had plenty of time. My mom passed away at 59. Worked hard her whole life. Thought she had plenty of time. My Uncle Richie. Went to see him in New York. Saw him on his deathbed. My cousin told me that he was really upset, basically because he never even got to play a round of golf because he was waiting to retire. He died 9 hours after I went and seen him. Everybody thinks they have plenty of time, and no one really knows. And the reason why I'm saying this, and the reason why I'm making this video, is you have to enjoy your life now. Now is the time to spend as